Welcome everybody. Today we'll take a look at the 2019 horror film, Sweetheart. A young girl named Jennifer is seen unconscious at the edge of the beach. When she regains consciousness, she notices that her friend Brad is also out cold. Quickly, she runs over to Brad and notices some coral embedded into his stomach. Since Brad shows no signs of life, she calls out to see if anyone's nearby, but she doesn't get any response. Jennifer uses all her strength and takes Brad out of the water. Upon reaching the shore, she removes the rock from his abdomen. Realizing that Brad is probably dehydrated, Jennifer rushes into the jungle and finds a coconut for him to drink. But when she returns back, she finds that Brad is already dead. Devastated by the loss of her friend, Jennifer walks around the island until she comes to a full circle, returning to Brad's body. Having no options left, she walks into the jungle. She soon reaches a clearing where she sees a bag hanging on a tree. Jennifer examines the contents of the bag, where she finds some bottles of Coke. She leaves them behind and walks forwards towards a thermos flask and a small tin case. She also finds an abandoned tent, along with an old Game Boy, a car radio, a book, and a teddy bear. When Jennifer walks back to the shore, she finds some leaves to cover Brad, and when she looks around, all she can see is the never-ending ocean on the horizon. The next morning, as she is picking up some small fish to eat, she discovers a shark corpse, mutilated in half, with deep gouge marks on its body. For a while, she keeps looking out to sea, wondering what could have caused such wounds to a sea predator. Next, after gutting down the fish using some kind of flat stone, Jennifer brings the cooler she found earlier and sits beside her belongings. She opens up her diary and finds out that the water had washed out all the ink in it. While going through it, Jennifer also finds a picture of her and her boyfriend. Later, when Jennifer comes upon a burial site, she thinks of giving Brad a proper burial. She heads back to the beach, where Brad's corpse has started to stink. Using all her strength, Jennifer drags him inward, digging a shallow grave, and buries him using a piece of wood. As Jennifer makes her daily walks around the beach, she notices Brad's grave has been messed with. She finds that his body is mutilated and dragged away into the jungle. She becomes terrified of the unknown and arms herself with a sharpened stick. The following day, Jennifer sees something in the distance, so she decides to swim towards it. Discovering a bucket and a piece of luggage, she takes a deep breath and dives into the ocean. But she sees a black hole on the ocean floor. This makes her even more terrified. So, taking the luggage and the bucket with her, she goes back to the shore. Jennifer finds some clothes, which she changes into later that night. Then, as she opens the tin box that she found earlier in the jungle, she discovers a secret compartment with some pictures in it. Moments later, she hears an airplane overhead and quickly gets up to fire the flare gun. With the flare glowing in the distance, she waits if she will get a response. But as the flare disappears from the horizon, Jennifer sees a humanoid monster rise from the water. This leaves her scared for her life, so she rushes back into the jungle and finds a spot to hide. The following day, she runs back out onto the beach and examines the pictures that she found. Jennifer realizes that they all belong to the same family, and to make things weirder, the last picture shows the woman holding the bag that Jennifer found earlier. Sensing that something is wrong, she decides to leave the island. She empties the box, puts both life jackets in there, and tries to use it as a raft. However, despite a lot of attempts, the raft box fails to hold her weight, and she is forced to return back to the jungle. That night, Jennifer sleeps in a hollow tree, and she keeps her weapon beside her, just in case the monster resurfaces. Her worst fear comes true as the monster returns back at night. She tries her best to hold her nerve and stay quiet while the beast approaches the log. The monster then rolls the log with Jennifer inside, but still, she doesn't make a sound. The next morning, Jennifer comes out of the log, terrified. On a lighter note, she ends up catching a small shark, using some small fish as a bait. She then decides to use the shark as bait to capture the monster. The night sets in, and we see Jennifer hiding while hanging the shark in plain view. She cautiously stays in her position as she watches out for the monster. Jennifer closes her eyes for a moment, but when she opens her eyes, she is shocked to see the shark is already gone. This makes her even more terrified. While sharpening her weapon the next day, Jennifer discovers a body floating in the water. When she goes to check, she sees a man's body cut in half, with his face mutilated. So, Jennifer ends up hanging the body the same way she did with the shark. Once again, the night sets in, and we see Jennifer sitting in her hiding spot, watching the monster take down the body before disappearing into the ocean. Moments later, she hears the sound of an airplane overhead. As she is contemplating what to do next, she sees the monster's feet nearby. Terrified, she covers her mouth until the monster walks away. Next, Jennifer uses a canvas to make a hammock high up in the trees, and when night falls, she uses that hammock as a watchtower. During a thunderstorm, as she is watching overhead, there's a flash of lightning, and the monster sees her. Quietly, Jennifer lies back into her hammock, hoping the monster didn't see her. Unfortunately, the monster pulls on the hammock, and she falls to the ground. Despite the monster's best efforts, Jennifer manages to evade it and makes it to the beach. However, the monster keeps pursuing her, and eventually it stands in front of her. Jennifer attacks it with a weapon, and in retaliation, the monster flings her away. But before she can stand, the monster kicks her into the water before disappearing from her sight. Jennifer examines her wounds the next day, takes a bath in the ocean, and even changes her clothes. As she's putting on her sneakers, a raft appears on the horizon. When she realizes that the raft is real, she takes off her shoes and swims towards it. To her surprise, she finds her friend Mia and her boyfriend Lucas on board. As soon as they get to the shore, Jen hugs Lucas and cries as he comforts her. Mia, on the other hand, carefully examines the island. As Jennifer is preparing a meal of roasted fish and coconuts for Lucas and Mia, they both say that the island is beautiful, but Jen tells them that they should leave immediately and tries to explain the whole monster scenario to them. However, the two do not believe her. Instead, Mia and Lucas suggest that they should wait and see if anyone else shows up. Jennifer then reveals that Brad is already dead and that she buried him. Hearing this, Mia breaks down and starts crying. When Jennifer says that she wants to leave the island at any cost, Mia tries to convince her that getting on the raft is also equally hopeless. But Jennifer keeps insisting that she prefers to die on a raft than on this island. Jennifer then goes back to Lucas and requests him to get ready to leave along with Mia. But Lucas is having a hard time processing Jen's explanation. He says that he just needs some more time to wrap his mind around it. However, Jennifer is hell-bent on leaving. Then, she borrows Lucas's army knife and goes out to get more food for them. When Jennifer opens the knife to cut the fish, she sees it stained with blood. When she returns back with the fish, Lucas and Mia reveal to her that they are not leaving the island. No matter how much she tries to convince them, they refuse to get on that raft. At last, Jennifer ends up agreeing with them and leaves them alone to clear her head. After a while, she goes back to the shore and packs up some supplies in the cooler. She also keeps the flare gun in her backpack. Then, Jennifer quietly walks to the raft and starts pushing it towards the ocean. Shortly after, Mia and Lucas notice this and run toward her to get her back to shore. After a brief struggle, Mia hits her with a paddle and she passes out in the water. Later that night, Jennifer regains consciousness and finds herself tied to a tree. She sees Mia sitting on a log, who explains to her that Lucas has gone to look around the island. Jennifer asks her to untie her, insisting that she's not making it up. But Mia says that she has a history of making things up, making it hard for her to believe her. After a while, Lucas comes back and says that he didn't find anything suspicious on the island. He then blames Jennifer for everything that has happened to them so far. Lucas says that they were having a great week until Jennifer told them that she didn't want to be on the boat, and as a result, they all are now trapped on an island. As they argue with each other, being the dumb girl she is, Mia goes for a stroll along the island shore. Suddenly, they hear Mia scream in the distance. Lucas grabs a log out of the fire and runs towards her scream. Unfortunately, the beast already has her. As Lucas hits it with a torch, it drops Mia and strikes Lucas instead. Meanwhile, Jennifer struggles to untie herself beside the campfire. She eventually sets herself free, grabs her weapon, and goes to help her friends. Lucas tries to reach out to Mia, who's in the water, but before he can get to her, the monster pulls her under the surface. The next morning, Jennifer gets down from the tree where they spent the night. She urges Lucas to get down, but ever since he saw the monster with his own eyes, he's scared out of his mind. But Jennifer assures him that she hasn't seen the monster during the day. Finally, they pack up their belongings and get onto the raft. Jennifer finds bloodstains on the raft deck, but doesn't mention it. Lucas starts paddling, but soon he hears something. Suddenly, the monster's hand swipes at Lucas from the water. Filled with terror, he hurries into the raft and covers it up, while Jen gets the weapon, just as the two are recollecting themselves. The monster pierces the bottom of the raft and brings up its head. In a moment of panic, Lucas fires at it with the flare gun, but he misses on the first attempt. He shoots again, and this time the beast goes back into the water. Just as the couple relaxes a bit, Jennifer is suddenly pulled into the water by the monster, and Lucas is left in shock. Now we see the beast taking her all the way to the bottom of the ocean. Jennifer keeps struggling and eventually stabs it with the army knife. As a result, the monster releases her and sinks to the bottom as Jennifer tries to swim to the surface. But once again, the monster turns around and attacks Lucas, who has dived into the water to rescue Jennifer. Unfortunately, it captures Lucas and takes him deep down into the ocean, while Jennifer returns back to the surface, feeling helpless. As Jennifer reaches back to the beach, she notices that the raft is also washing ashore. Now, the first thing she does is reignite the fire. Then she starts writing about her time on the island as proof of her encounters with this monster. She then collects a bunch of sticks and starts sharpening them. She even digs out dead bodies and sharpens their bones. Having no options left, Jennifer prepares herself for a final standoff with the monster. It's clear that this time she is determined to kill it once and for all. As the night sets in, we see Jennifer baiting the monster with fish and surrounding it with fire. As the monster looks for her on the island, she runs at it and stabs it with a stick repeatedly while simultaneously evading its attacks. As the monster looks for her, Jennifer arms herself with the stick and bones and goes at it again and again. However, in this process, the monster also hits her multiple times and throws her against the tree. The tactic continues for a while as Jennifer seriously wounds the monster with her weapons. Eventually, Jennifer finds herself running along the shore while the beast pursues her. When she finally turns around ready to fight, the monster screams and drops dead before her. To finish what she started, she goes towards the beast and beheads it. The movie ends with Jennifer carrying the monster's head with her as the jungle burns in the background.